Well, I found you on Instagram while trying to study for LSAT. Just to give kind of background, I've been studying for the LSAT for a couple years. I've taken it about 4 or 5 times, and I've always stayed in like the 140 range. And I'm trying to apply to, I'm in Louisiana, and I'm trying to apply to Southern University Law. They do evening law, and that just works best with my work schedule. I guess my biggest thing is I used Kaplan before, so it's literally trying to, I feel like, unlearn a language. And I'm just having difficulties doing that with also working full time. I'm working from home, so that's a blessing right now because of COVID. I guess it's finding time with a month approaching for the April LSAT, and I haven't been studying as much as I should been because of work purposes and traveling. So now that I finally have time to breathe and be in my own bubble and studying, I guess I'm trying to figure out what is it I can do to jump back into that studying mode within like a month left after I've already taken this more than once before. So I'm not saying it's like brand new for me to take this exam. I'm just wondering, like, what are some tips that I could do to just, with a month left, not put so much added anxiety and pressure on myself, just to review, like, what path would you suggest, I guess?
Sure. I'm glad to help. First off, let me ask, why are you taking it in April specifically? Are you applying this cycle, or are you applying?
Yes.
Okay. You're applying the current cycle.
Yes.
Okay. So you're hoping to go to law school in approximately 6 months?
Yes. In the fall.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. What's your schedule like over the next month?
The next month from that I know of is just 8 to 4:30. And I'm in my house, so it's not like I'm in a hotel room or, just traveling around for work purposes. I'm in my hometown, and, I can go to the library, but I don't think they have private study rooms in the library because of COVID still. Because that's what I was using in the beginning, and I really love that because it's outside my house. I don't really have distractions or temptations, for to take away from me. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out, diving back into your schedule. Like, you sent me the 2-month schedule for studying. Is there like a shorter version for a month possibly, or what would you suggest leading up to the exam in April? I think right now my score is 141. And I've been in contact with people on the admissions for this law school I'm trying to get into. And from what I've been told, they just tell me, like, you just need to bump it up just a little bit more to get into the range of, like, I'm already in the range of what they accept. They just want me to bump it up a little bit more, a couple more points. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm trying to figure out within the next couple of weeks, how can I like zero focus in like a schedule of studying and what to study to bump it up just a few more points.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, I have a 1-month schedule, but it's an intense one. And I don't actually love the idea of it at all because it's meant to really compress everything for those who are desperate for that, but it's not a recommended course of action at all. Right. And it assumes no prior knowledge. You're not in that situation because you've been studying already and you're just looking to get up a few more points in the final month you have remaining. So my question is, if we wanted to bump you up just a few points, what are the easiest points you can get?
I guess I'm having the most trouble in the games, just relearning how, like, the process for solving them. And I have the Law Hub exams. I bought that the practice test that I can go on and do those with the schedule that you sent me. I guess where I'm having issues is whenever I'm going through them, if it's not clicking, like I'm not figuring out how to do it. It's just not having that like explanation of, hey, for this question, these are the answers and this is how you get to it. I guess I was just looking for that for that to explain to myself.
Okay, well, good news. I have that. I have
Awesome.
I have explanations for most logic games.
Cool.
On video, walking you through every question, every choice. I've got those available. So they show you how to make inferences. They show you how to make multiple main diagrams when that's useful. They walk you through how to reuse previous work as much as possible to be more efficient. So if you want to get better at games, just do a bunch of those. Do a bunch of recent logic games, use the explanations afterwards, and they'll help you clear up any confusion. And that alone could be it. Logic games is typically where there's the lowest hanging fruit.
Okay. So do you think with the time frame, logic games would be the best thing for me to concentrate on to fine tune and get better? Like that would be the easiest one to tackle first leading up to the April exam. Apart from, okay.
It could be. We'll talk about the other sections too. I just started there because you started there, but we'll cover all sections. So logic games typically is the lowest hanging fruit. There's typically the biggest gains you can make there relative to other sections. So, I mean, do you feel like your logic games situation at the moment has a lot of room for improvement?
Yes, immensely.
So start there. You could start there. And that I would say that course of action is something you could certainly do. And with a month remaining, it may not feel like there's a lot you can do, but you also said you're working 8 to 4:30. It's during COVID. You're home a lot anyway. You can do a lot either before work or after work, or who knows, maybe even during the day. Definitely the weekends. You have time available. I'd be surprised if you couldn't do at least 20 hours of studying a week.
Right.
You also mentioned Law Hub itself. And so I'm curious, just in general, how long have you had access to Law Hub for and how much have you used it?
I've had it since January, and I guess I haven't really explored it, but I have gone to the practice test that you've listed in on day this and this is what you do, go to this exam. I think I'm using the right one because I know you said that Law Hub is a little bit different the way they compare to the books, like finding the question and the section in the question. So I think I'm doing the right ones. But it's just the practice test is what I've only seen on Law Hub.
Okay, good. I mean, the reason I raised the question, you're right that there's some section numbering confusion sometimes. The short answer is logic games is section 1, reading comp is section 4 in Law Hub. But on test day, of course, they're scrambled and mixed up.
Right.
I just want to make sure that you're familiar with the format of the exam you'll be taking. Like, are you doing your practice tests on there?
I haven't done a practice test in a while. But yes, I have been doing going through the practice test you said.
Okay, cool. Good. So I'd say you want to make sure that you're doing at least one timed exam a week in Law Hub so that you're used to the look and feel, the style of what you'll experience on test day.
Okay.
That alone could lead to some more points in the end. Gotcha. Then I want to talk logical reasoning too, and then reading comp. For logical reasoning, what are some of your problem areas there?
I guess it's more of like the flaws and the inferences. Just remembering, how can I say this? It's going into that section, being able to identify what type of question is each one, and then within the time limit, knowing, okay, what is my strategy here? Like, how do I remembering the steps to tackle those types of questions?
So being really clear on that step-by-step approach when you encounter a given question type.
Yeah, it's just the past too much. I've kind of been just stuck on logic games per se, so I haven't really touched much on the reading comp or the logic reasoning. I've just been trying to go back to logic games whenever I have free time or I'm not mentally fried from work, and being able to concentrate on that because that is the beginning of your study plan, what you suggest.
Yeah. Well, month left. It's time to kick it into high gear and make sure that you got the familiarity on all sections, all question types. Now, I'll be honest, I think that you could probably achieve a lot more if you allowed more time because you're working full time. You just got a month or so until the April LSAT, but you only need a few more points. You say you're looking to go this fall. I'm willing to work with you within that framework, but I also just want to make sure I note that if you were to allow yourself even till June, you could do significantly better, and maybe the school would still let you apply this cycle.
Right. I had someone tell me that on the admissions. They're like, they don't state it online, but they've told me, they're like, hey, like we still accept people in June. So, but that's just like hearsay. So I really don't know how valid that is with the school. Because like one person said it and then another person said no, like we strictly go by the March 30th time frame, like deadline. So I guess I really don't know what to believe, but hearing that from you kind of like shows that, you know, most schools do. So that's comforting.
A lot of schools do. And they don't advertise it because they want people applying earlier. But these deadlines in so many cases, they're fluid, they're not fixed. And if you think about it, what incentive do they have to set a deadline when they could have somebody come along with a higher score, or somebody could bump up their score more? And then that helps them raise their rankings. That helps them increase their medians and do better in the US News rankings in the end, which is a lot of what their reputations rest upon. So
I didn't even think about that.
That drives this whole process. The rankings drive this whole process. Nobody likes them, but everybody still listens to them anyway. And so it's this catch-22 kind of situation. But let's say hypothetically, you bump it up 5 points by April. I hope you bump it up more, but let's say at least 5 points by April. But June, you're giving yourself that additional 2 months. Let's say you were to bump it up 15 points. How much more scholarship money could you get with that many more points, or even other law schools potentially, if you're open to it? Like, it could entirely change the nature of what you get offered.
Right. I guess in that event, I guess my question is, how would I communicate with them? Like, let's say I bump up to 5 points, but it's still not, you know, enough to get me in the door. How can I open that communication for June saying, hey, I really want to get in, you know, for fall semester. I've bumped up my score significantly. Like, do I still have an opportunity? Would I just call them or email them, or would they contact me, I guess? Just trying to figure out that scenario.
Well, I would certainly be the one to contact them. I would make sure you contact them and reach out. But I would also open the line of communication already. I mean, you said that you've been in touch with them. Yeah. So do you have is there like an email communication thread going that you have with them?
Yeah, definitely. And my point of contact's been very supportive. They also like forward my email to other people on the committee, the admissions committee, and just like put my name out there for me. So I'm super appreciative of that. And just know that, you know, I'm working to get a higher LSAT score, and that I'm very interested in this law school. And I'm also an alum from the undergrad. So yeah, I'm very thankful for that.
Cool. That's great to hear. It sounds like you've got a good line of communication there, and you got some good support there. So I love to see that. It's great. And it's great that you're grateful. Recognize that you also have benefits to offer them that they can be grateful for when you come back at them with a higher score.
Right.
So this isn't really you going to them like begging for something or saying, please let me in. I would say instead, like, I have this LSAT score as an asset that can bring value to you, and I'd love to go to your school, but you've only offered me X amount of money. Right. So I'm saying, you know, I'd love to make that. I'd love to go with you guys, but I don't know if I can make the finances work. What can you do? Or you come back and say, I'm planning to retake it in June. So I can't commit right now, but I'm planning to retake it in June. Based on that number, is it okay? Based on what I get, can I reach back out and have another conversation to see what could happen?
Okay.
And you could play with the wording, and that my wording may not be perfect, but I'm just trying to give you the sense of
like a template.
This could be more of a negotiation than just you coming to them like you need it more than they need you, because they actually need you more. Like, nobody has to go to law school, but law schools need to fill seats.
Right. Gotcha. So, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. Okay.
Of course. No, I'm glad to help. I'm definitely reach back out as this goes forward, and I'll do what I can to help. We've also got plenty of sessions on admissions inside the course where we're talking through things like this.
Okay. And do you have videos, just to circle back to the games? Can you just go more into detail that your videos of going through the steps for logic games? Is it like per pretest, or is it just for like that certain type of logic games? like, how does your videos for that stream?
Yeah, sure. So basically the videos, they're by prep test number and question number. So prep test number, game number, and they're also labeled by type. So you've got grouping matching, you've got grouping selection, you have different types of ordering games. So you can go through them as you like.
Okay.
I also want to make sure we touch on logical reasoning and reading comp a little bit more, though.
Okay.
So you mentioned that for logical reasoning, you're looking for that step by step.
Right.
Now, the workshops, a lot of them will typically what we'll do is we'll cover like the basic theory, like the concepts underlying it, what the question's asking you for. And then it could be step one. I mean, some people like to read question stem first. Some like to read the stimulus first. It doesn't matter that much, although I prefer question stem first personally. But the idea is to know, okay, well, if it's this question type, these are the typical paths it can go down. And there's approximately a dozen or so different question stem types. And you just want to make sure you have a basic familiarity with each one and what they're looking for you to do.
Okay.
So if you watch the first even 5-10 minutes of a given workshop, it'll typically be focusing on that.
Gotcha.
And then the rest of the class will be going through examples. And I'd recommend those too, but with limited time, you might just want to go through the theoretical portion. And then in the foundational section of the course, I also focus a lot on the theory.
Gotcha. And also when it comes to, what do you suggest from getting Kaplan's way of, I'm not trying to badmouth another company. I'm really not. It's just, there is a difference of how they structure and teach versus your course. I guess, do you have any advice on how to get that out of my mind or not think about that? Like, is there like that big of a difference? Because I'm kind of noticing it just by like certain phrases that you use for like the games. I don't know why I'm blanking. I can't come up with an example in my mind. But do you have any suggestions for that, for like relearning from using a different setting?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely, this is a common issue. I mean, a lot of people have used them in the past, and I'm not afraid to say they're definitely not one of the better options out there. I'm sorry to say, but I get where you're coming from. What I would suggest is, and then by the way, it's good that you can't think of the name. I'm not going to give you the name because we were trying to put it away, right? So
yeah,
I'd say the best thing to do is replace it with the stuff that I'm offering you that you have in the course access to already. I would say watch these videos covering the basics, giving you the proper approach.
Okay.
Use the resources, repetition, but exposure. I mean, the course, you've got tons of videos. So you're getting the audio, you're getting the visual. So you have different ways you're getting slides. So you're getting ways to put the information to your brain, audio, visual, text, do the drills in the classes, walk through those, write it out in your scratch paper. And so that you're finding different ways to get it in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's touch on reading comp a little bit in the time we have remaining. With reading comp, what's your approach like there?
My approach is usually I try to read the questions first, and just try to go through it and get an idea of what they're asking. Obviously, I can't remember all like 6 or 8 questions verbatim, but I try to keep in my mind what they're looking for. And then as I'm reading through each paragraph, if I see something, I would like highlight it or if I, like a word match in my mind. If they mention something in a question and I see it like in the paragraph, I'll just like note it. So at least I can know where it's at instead of having to go look through like the whole story or the whole passage for that wording. And usually just that. And sometimes I catch myself if I don't especially the ones like the scientific ones where it's a different language for me and I don't understand what they're saying. So I feel like I have to reread a sentence 3 times and I know I'm burning time right there. Like I'm wasting time. And then the anxiety sets in like, oh my God, I'm wasting time. Why am I not getting this? And so I try just to move on and then circle back whenever I have a clear mind of it. But that's sort of my process right now.
Okay, no, thanks for sharing all of that. It's good to know what you've been up to this point. And I think we've got some areas where you could just make a few tweaks and get some big results. I would suggest mainly just stop reading the questions before the passage.
Really?
If you do that, you will save a lot of time.
Okay.
And the reason why is that, as you said, 6 to 8 questions, that's way too much to hold in your head.
Right. Plus, and they're not short questions. They're long.
No, they're not. I mean, if you consider, questions plus answer choices is a lot. That's way too much. It's impossible, I would think, for anybody. And then even just question stems alone, they can be pretty wordy, but they're always asking you for the same things. The details might be different in some cases, but you've got global oriented questions, typically like main idea, primary purpose, passage organization, best title, tone, things of that nature. You always want to walk away with that regardless, right? Even if they didn't ask it, you should still know what's the main idea. If you don't know the main idea, you don't know anything, and you got to read the passage. So that's the main thing you want to walk away with, is what's the main idea? What's the author's opinion? The detail stuff, you can always find that when you need it later. And when there's a keyword on Law Hub, they're highlighting it for you in the question stem and in the passage itself. So they're doing that work for you already in many cases. Otherwise, you've got Control F that you can use.
Okay.
So try that out and see how it works for you. You may not want to do everything I've just said, but at the very least, questions before passage is definitely not a winning strategy given the time constraints.
Right. Okay. I can definitely see like changing that and seeing how it would benefit me, because I do waste a lot of time reading it, and I can see the frustration in that. Yeah.
And try some drills where you're just basically reading the passage and articulating the main idea for yourself as a prephrase before going into the questions.
Okay. All right. I'll definitely try that.
Cool, Samantha. Well, that's about it for today, but I'm really glad we connected. Before we sign off, what would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
First, having that open communication. It's not just, you send me schedules and stuff. It's an actual person I can talk to, and get advice from. So that's a great benefit in itself. And just you understanding where I'm coming from and, the predicament I'm in and how to get out of that and how to get a best score, and just all the information that's available. And helping me navigate, where I can get these answers at is very, very helpful and beneficial.
Of course. Well, I'm really glad we connected. I'm glad to help, and reach out if you need anything anytime.
I definitely will. Thank you.
Of course. Have a good one. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.